All right, and we are live. Hey, what's going on, everyone? Welcome to episode 12 of the Gaming Perspective Podcast, the most exciting podcast on Saturday night. We have a lot of stuff to talk about tonight. We've got Cyberpunk 2077 limited edition consoles, Gamescom switching from a physical event to a all digital event. We've got Crysis Remastered. We've got PlayStation opens a COVID-19 relief fund for indie developers, and we're going to talk about what we think the launch lineups for these next generation consoles are going to look like. So to introduce the panel, Mr. Eric Jackson is off tonight. He needed a little bit of mental rest, so we're wishing him the best right now. But introducing our regular host and panel, as always, Mr. Samuel Tolbert from Windows Central, iMore, and Android Central. How are we doing tonight, sir?
Good. I didn't imagine that we'd be talking about Crysis, to be honest with you. But here we are in the year of our Lord 2020, and that this year just keeps on giving. It just keeps on giving.
It's anything goes this year, Sam.
And also introducing from lordsofgaming.net, Mr. Jaredine.
How's it going, everybody? Thanks for tuning in. Yeah, we got some interesting things to talk about tonight, so yeah, let's get cracking.
Yeah, absolutely. It's been 2020. That's basically all I can say each and every week, because each week I go to put together a topics list. It's like, is this really happening right now? And also, I need the game news cycle to stop, because I write up these topic lists typically on Thursdays when I start putting them together. And when I started putting this together on Wednesday, Thursday, I was like, whoa, we're really short for topics this week. There's not a whole lot to talk about. And then Friday happened. Thursday and Friday, they're like, oh, here, have like 90% of your topics list on Thursday and Friday. But here we are. We've got a lot to talk about. But, of course, as we ask each and every week, what have you guys been playing? We're going to start with Jared.
Oh, all right. So I've been playing more Neo 2, finally getting to the higher level end. Like I've hit, I think, level 82 in that game, and I'm still loving it, really enjoying it. It's a great, fantastic game. I'm still waiting for all the really, really good gear to drop. I'm really excited for that, because that's like my favorite thing is the gear grind in that game. So yeah, having a blast playing that. And then I snagged Days Gone for $20. So I've been going back into that game and kind of upset I stopped playing like not even a third of the way through. I really need to just buckle down and play that game from start to finish, and just it's one of the better, I think, actual zombie games out there, because these zombies aren't your typical game zombies. One's okay to fight, 2 is a little iffy, 3's pretty dangerous. You get above that, you basically gotta run unless you're really courageous, because it's just it's dangerous, and I love that aspect. So that's what I've been diving into this week.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. I picked up Days Gone on the sale as well, because as everybody knows, I reviewed the game back in the day when it came out, and my save file corrupted after about 40 hours in the game.
Oh,
and so I was very disheartened and never finished the game. So I decided, you know what? It's $20. I'm gonna pick it up and give it another shot, because I felt like the game at its core was fantastic. I loved the loop. I enjoyed the story. It was just the performance issues at launch were really, really terrible. So it didn't really give a great first impression, so to speak. But they've apparently ironed out a bunch of those issues. I was really happy, because when I booted up the game, I found out that my Days Gone save, had been actually cloud saved. And
good.
I downloaded it. I'm only about 30 minutes behind where my save had corrupted. So I'm definitely looking forward to getting into that. It's a pretty game too.
It is.
Not stress that enough.
It's beautiful, and you know what I will say? They definitely ironed out a lot of the issues, so you'll be happy.
Awesome. So good. Now, Sam, what have you been playing?
Well, unfortunately, yet again, I've been playing a game that I can't talk about yet.
Shh, hush, hush. Hush, hush.
I'm changing your name in the Discord to Captain Redacted at this point.
Fair enough. I look forward to talking about that game when I can, in a couple of weeks. I think it'll be, let me see, what is today, the 18th? I don't know if I'll be able to talk about it by our next episode, but definitely the one after that. I'll be able to.
Yeah, you guys get a long time to review it, eh?
Yeah. Well, with whatever it is. With
Yeah.
whatever it is.
Hey, whatever it is, but it's a decent amount of time.
It's pretty great just in the fact of, like, there's, like, no games coming out right now, so it's like there's no games coming out for the next, like, 3 or 4 weeks, so wherever Sam's playing, he's got time.
Yeah, exactly. Beyond that, I've also been playing some Modern Warfare, Warzone, loving the Battle Royale there. Nick, you got to get back to it with me. You got to jump back in there. Like, I've been having a good time with that. I've also been playing Gears 5, making my way in Operation 3. I need to get back into that. I haven't been doing as much as I wanted to. So I need to make up for some lost time and get some ranks in there. And then beyond that, I actually started a game called Divinity Original Sin 2.
Yes!
That game is obtuse. It is obtuse as all heck. It's very difficult to figure out. But I'll tell you what, it's a lot of fun. It's like D&D, but in video game form.
Yep.
It is really, really good. Only made a couple of hours of progress playing it in co-op, but I'm loving it.
It's so good. It is so good.
Yeah, I need to dive into that at some point, but I've got 50 million games I need to dive into at some point, so... But I've slowly been getting there. So yeah, this week was a weird week for me. I have a ton of games to play, and I really wasn't feeling any of them. It was a weird week for me. I'm not really going to go in depth into it, but I couldn't really find anything that was, like, catching on. I'd load up a game, play for 20 minutes, exit out, be like, ugh. Load up another game, play for 20 minutes, exit out, So what I ended up doing is I bought Quake about 2 weeks ago. I played the first level and went, oh, this is really good. I should go back and play this. Never bothered. So I ended up playing a ton of the original Quake, and it's really amazing how much 90s FPS games really hold up. And how some of them don't, because I also bought Hexen, and that does not hold up anymore. It holds up horribly now. The controls are terrible and depressing. Yeah, like not having a strafe and having to use your mouse to move side to side is one of the jankiest. Which is one of the jankiest control screens. I'm so glad we got rid of.
Just use a joystick then. Jeez.
If I remember correctly, when I played Hexen when I was growing up, I'm pretty sure I played it on joystick. So that would probably explain it.
Probably, yeah.
But besides that, I've been playing a little bit of Fallout 76. Fallout 76 got the massive Wastelanders update. As everyone knows, I'm an endless Bethesda shill till the day I die. So I had to give it a second chance and dive back in, and it is surprisingly good. I've really been enjoying my time with it. The addition of NPCs really brings more life to the world. I know the whole reason they didn't have NPCs in the game was because they wanted it to feel more empty than previous Fallout games, but killing robots and super mutants got really old really quickly. So not only the addition of NPC characters that you can interact with, get quests from, and everything else is really great, but just the addition of human enemy types that you can kill and everything else just adds a really nice fresh feel to it, because you're not just killing ghouls, you're not just killing robots, you're not killing super mutants, you're killing raiders, you're killing scavvers, you've got tons of different things, and a lot of the NPCs you find wandering around will have little side quests or give you gear, or you can trade with them. It's just a really great... It adds a great range of depth to the game that the game was missing before. And I'm going to talk to it more at length. I'm actually doing a video on it. But yeah, it's really, really good. And I really want to give Bethesda credit, because they could, after the launch of this game, they could have dumped it and just went, oh, that was a bad idea. But they didn't. They stuck through with it. They kept doing updates. They worked on the performance. The performance in the game is great now. There's very little frame staggering, if any. And the amount of content in the game is great. And it's really fun to play with friends. So if you have a couple of friends that are playing it, it's worth jumping in on. I wouldn't say pay full price for the game. I would definitely not still say spend $80 or whatever your currency alternative is. But if you see it on sale for $30-$40, it's worth it if you have friends to play with. So, yeah.
Sweet.
Yeah. So we got a little bit of cool stuff. So there was a leak earlier in the week of a Cyberpunk 2077 custom controller for the Xbox One, which was, in my opinion, one of the best looking Xbox One controllers there is, because I just bought an Elite V2 and I was like, damn it, I need to buy this. Damn. But it was really cool. And now we have it announced that there's going to be a Cyberpunk 2077 Xbox One X that will be coming in June 2020. Now, I'm going to toss this over to Sam, because the first place I saw this was at Windows Central. So, Sam, why don't you give us a little bit of a rundown on the Cyberpunk limited edition console?
For a very quick backstory here, a couple of days before this console was revealed, a controller leaked on Amazon Canada. Always you Canadians. Yeah, you syrup drinkers.
Oh, sorry,
Always your fault. It's Walmart Canada, it's Amazon Canada, it's Canada.
So those damn
It's
Sixers, I tell you.
So anyways, so the limited edition controller leaked there. And that was the indication, oh, okay, something's up. It's a cool controller. It's red and black and silver, and it has, the shiny corporate logo on one side, but then on the other it has no future scratched into it. It's sort of themed after Johnny Silverhand, Keanu Reeves' character. It's pretty cool. Then the next day, there was a video glitch on the Xbox website. And I really like this, by the way. I like it when corporations do something interesting, for their reveals. It's not just, oh, new trailer, blah, blah, blah. Like, it's just, hey, this is actually kind of cool. And so what happened is, if the first time you load into the Xbox website, it would start glitching out. And then a cyberpunk-style message would hack in, so to speak, and tell you to come back in a couple of days. 4 days, to be precise. And what was going to happen, unbeknownst to us, is that if no one had cracked a code by then, a secret code that was vaguely hinted at through the letters, then they were going to just reveal it then. But someone did crack the code and access the video, and it leaked out that way. And as of a couple of days ago, we know that there is a Cyberpunk 2077 Xbox One X. It's an interesting design, yellow and silver, very patchwork cybertech type look. Very interesting. It's got glow in the dark paint that says the words "no future." It's interesting. 1 terabyte, and it's releasing in June. So it's going to be available in June. The game doesn't come out until September 17th, but it does include the game. You just won't be able to access it then. And obviously it includes the limited edition controller as well. Mm-hmm. I will say it's interesting launching a limited edition console just a few months before next gen. Like, that is, like, okay. Really? We're doing this?
It's not even on the same day as the launch day of the game, too.
Exactly. It's odd. And I wanted to ask you guys this, but this is my opinion. I think it's because this game was originally due out in April. That's the thing. The game was due out in April. This console and the controller would have come out in April. It would have made sense then, but the game got delayed into September, so now they're like, okay, we have to shut down Xbox One X production at some point and put all the factories over to making next-gen consoles. Mm-hmm. So June is probably the latest they can put it out. That's my opinion. If you guys have any other thoughts, I'd like to hear it.
Jared, if you want to go ahead.
I guess I don't really have too many thoughts on it. I agree with Sam there. Just the game was originally meant to come out April. Actually, by now, technically, if it stuck with the original date, we'd already be playing the dang game. And that's probably what we're talking about today. I have to cry a little bit about that.
I know. It's all right.
Anyways, yeah, it's more than likely because, the game was originally meant to launch, and they can only wait so long to hold on to a product like that, right? Before they start losing money on a large scale. So might as well get it out and not wait the whole year and still get people excited and ramped up and have something nice to look at until the game actually launches.
Yeah, and it's always weird when companies do the custom consoles near the end of generation. I'm not sure if people remember, but PlayStation did something similar at the end of the PS3 generation with the God of War Ascension PlayStation 3. Now, it was just simply a red PlayStation 3, but it's still doing, like, console bundles at the end of the generation is so weird to me. especially with backwards compatibility being what it is. But I definitely agree that this was more meant to launch with the game. Like, I definitely think this console was meant to come out in April with the game. And with Cyberpunk getting the delay it did, they released it at the latest possible moment. Which is a shame, because I think I like the console. The glow-in-the-dark aspect is really cool. And I really love that controller. I'm going to get that controller. I won't get the console, obviously. But the controller is great, and I love the design on it. And yeah, it's just a really cool little end-of-gen treat for those that want it. But like I said, I don't know too many people that are going to be grabbing a 1X in June, if I'm being completely honest. It's kind of a weird time frame to be buying a new console, but you never know. People have done stranger things. My best friend growing up bought a PS3 3 weeks after the PlayStation 4 launched. So there are weird people out there. But moving on to our next piece of news, Gamescom, which was set to have a physical event in August, but due obviously to COVID-19 situation in Europe, that will no longer be happening. However, they still plan to do a digital event and have been quite transparent about their desire to do a digital event, unlike other certain parties that host shows. So Jared, you wrote this up on lordsofgaming.net, so why don't you tell us a little bit about Gamescom going from a physical event to a digital event?
All right, so Gamescom, big event over in Cologne, Germany, hosted 360,000 people at 10 their event. It is absolutely massive. Now, these guys have finally decided, because of COVID-19, they're going to go for a digital event for Gamescom. Now, it's really nice that Gamescom actually came out themselves and said, hey, we are going to actually put on something for you guys and not abandon our fans, unlike someone else later or earlier this year. So it's really nice to see that Gamescom is supporting their fans and their developers and publishers and people that wanted to come to basically the biggest gaming event in the world. And it's nice that they're addressing this directly and supporting the fans.
Yeah, like, clear PR, not leaking people's information. Hey, Sam, you got any thoughts on Gamescom, buddy?
Put him down, boy.
It's certainly better than one of the others. It's certainly better than E3 2021 being planned. I'll tell you that. And I'll say this. It shows a world of difference in planning and competence, in that the Gamescom board was able to just figure this out and say, yep, we're going digital. Jeff Keighley's still going to do his opening night live show, which was pretty darn good last year, actually. It was really good. So, you know, I'm looking forward to that this year. All digital show, obviously, due to the nature of everything going on. They're going to have events. They're going to have other stuff shown through this digital Gamescom, as opposed to E3, which was not able to salvage a digital Gamescom, and most of what they were going to do has been snatched up by IGN, and everything they're going to be working on, and what little wasn't is going to be shown through personal events, like Xbox is going to do their own thing. They're not partnering with IGN. So yeah, it's good. It's good. I'm looking forward to seeing what it is.
Yeah.
We'll touch on this in a later topic, but I think there's also the fact of, like, what games do we see at Gamescom O'Keefe show if we're going to be seeing next gen stuff from Xbox and Sony before that? You know, it's a question. It's a question I have.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting to watch how that plays out. Yeah, and Gamescom, competent, great people. Love their media application form, because they don't suggest donating to them, unlike a certain other event category that we shall remain unnamed. Cough cough E3 cough cough fuck the ESA. Yeah, sorry. Oh no, I don't get invited to E3 2021.
You must feel a certain way, Nick.
I just, at this point, I have no problem. Like, before, I was a little hesitant about openly criticizing the ESA because I wanted to attend E3 2020. But now, at this point, I feel like there's nothing to lose at this point in time. So, yeah. Shout out to Gamescom for understanding its fan base, its developers, and its publishers, and respecting the time and efforts of everybody involved. Now, in a crazy, crazy world, after an April Fool's joke has gone wrong for the past 12 years, a Crysis remaster is actually coming. So, after the usual Crysis April Fool's joke on their website, which they've done for as long as I can remember, the Crysis Twitter account fired back up and started making very suggestive tweets. A lot of people were running with, it's a new Crysis game, and no. So, Crysis Remastered will be coming, and not only will it be coming, it'll be coming to PC, PlayStation 4, Xbox One, and for the very first time, it is coming to Nintendo Switch. Which, if you told me in 2013 that Crysis would run on a Nintendo console, I would have giggled a lot.
Yeah.
So what do you guys think? Crysis Remastered. Can your console run Crysis?
Here's what I'll say, if you don't mind. I think this would mean more if it was coming on next-gen systems only, and they were able to crank the visuals up to the next level beyond what we thought possible, full ray tracing on everything, that sort of thing. But this is able to fit on the Nintendo Switch. Like, it's fine. It's a good. The first Crysis is a good game. I enjoyed the first Crysis. I actually enjoyed Crysis 3 as well. Not as much as Crysis 1, but I enjoyed it. But the fact of the matter is, I wasn't itching to replay Crysis. If it was fully ray traced for Series X/PS5, okay, sure. Then in that case, I would do it. But as it is right now, no, fine, okay.
Yeah, I like when I was talking with Al about this and Alcoholicost on Twitter, and I think it's a missed opportunity because when this was being teased, I thought this was a tease for a remaster to launch with next generation hardware. I thought that's what this tease was about. I'm like, oh my god, they're going to launch PS5 and Xbox Series X with the game that created benchmarking, essentially. I'm like, that's huge. And then they were like, PS4, Xbox One, Nintendo Switch. And I'm like, I don't know. It's hard to get excited about it when it's limited to this generation hardware. Like, I'm not saying it won't be amazing or good or better or anything like that. I just think it's a missed opportunity by Crytek to not put this on next generation hardware to become the game that shows off this hardware. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
But with all this being said, though, I'm still buying it because I never played Crysis. Because when Crysis came out, I was a PC gamer, and guess what? My PC could not run Crysis.
I was in the same boat. I was playing a lot of PC. I have never played Crysis, so I'm actually kind of excited to dive into this one.
Yeah, I think it's interesting because I'm curious on whether or not they're releasing this remaster to see if there's enough interest in the franchise for a new Crysis, which would then be on next generation hardware.
That's kind of what I was wondering too, is gauging interest for a new title. See, hey, if this is really well, maybe it is worth the time and investment to really do a proper full next gen make of a Crysis game, sort of thing. So, because if Crysis is really gonna if they're gonna make a new Crysis, you gotta take advantage of the next gen features because you gotta make sure these systems are running at like 30 FPS on these damn consoles. Otherwise, you're not doing the game justice. Just saying.
Yeah, and also as HR Bomber just said in the chat too, he wonders if Crysis will get Xbox Series X patch for it.
That'd be nice, actually.
And that's kind of what I'm kind of curious about too. Is like I wonder with PS5 with the boost mode capability that they've talked about in using the PlayStation 5's hardware to run your PlayStation 4 games, really interested if that could happen. But only time will tell, and the fact that I can, for the memes, buy Crysis on a Nintendo Switch and play it at probably a frame rate and a resolution that was similar to what my PC ran when Crysis released, that's amazing. So we also got a little bit of a shadow announcement this week too, which was kind of surprising. So Fireaxis Games, which you may know for the series Capcom, which is published by 2K, announced a small spin-off game. So as everyone knows, XCOM 2 has often been regarded as one of the best
a turn-based cover strategy. It's hard. It's weird, okay?
It's set a standard, because when Gears Tactics released, a lot of people were like, "Oh, it looks like XCOM." All these games get compared to XCOM, and there's good reason for that, because it's a very beloved series. But Fireaxis Games announced that XCOM Chimera Squad is an upcoming turn-based tactical video game that is set to release later this month. Actually, in 6 days. It's going to be exclusive to PC for now, but it is at a whopping $9.99 to pre-order this game.
Cheap.
Has anyone here pre-ordered it? I pre-ordered it.
I might end up checking it out because I love XCOM, or I love the first XCOM. I haven't really bothered with XCOM 2 as much as I should. I'm a little concerned. It's $10. It's just an experiment. I get that, but they're removing permadeath and some other things, which, like, to me, is the entire point of XCOM. So I don't know. Especially with Gears Tactics right around the corner, I'm not sure how I feel about that. But at $10, I'll probably end up checking it out all the same.
Yeah, I think it's smart for developers like this, because I feel like Fireaxis Games is just throwing this out to try out a bunch of new things that they might necessarily not want to put in XCOM 3 to kind of gauge community interest, and throwing out a $10 game is really a good way of doing that, I think.
Yes, absolutely.
Because I feel like they're like, here, try this out, and we're going to listen to your feedback and use it towards our next title. Because we all know that, like, there's no doubt, like, some people are like, is this XCOM 3? No, XCOM 3 will be a $60 fully fleshed out XCOM game. I agree with the removal of permadeath is just weird to me, because that's what that series is based about, and, like, that's why that game is so stressful, is the permadeath aspect. And I really hope that this doesn't pull its way out of XCOM 3. Like, I hope they don't remove that system, because I just like the gamble that comes with permadeath. It's one of the reasons I love State of Decay 2, because you work and you build this character up and you love them and you've played with them for 10 hours, and then some freak accident happens and they die and you're like, no! And it's a tragedy, and then you have to start with another character and everything else. It makes you play more conservatively. It makes you really think about how you play the game. I just really enjoy permadeath. So but I'm all for developers throwing out $10 spin-off experiment titles, because I would certainly like that a lot more than releasing a full AAA game where you're like, hey, I know you love this series, but we're going to do something completely different with it.
Yeah,
what?
Agree. Right? It's way better to put out a smaller, cheaper version, just like you said, Nick, of a game with some experimental features, just to gauge crowd interest and get feedback, and then go from there on how you're going to direct and what you're going to implement into the next actual full XCOM game, which I would actually really like to see as almost like a next-gen third-party launch lineup title or whatever. Say, hey, this is coming out around this time for both Series X and PS5 would be XCOM 3. I think that'd be kind of nice to see, too.
I'll be interested to see with XCOM 3 is if it launches on PC first again. Because as everyone knows, XCOM 2 came to PC first and then came to consoles 6 months later, I think?
About 6 to 8 months. And the original XCOM did the same thing. The original XCOM was PC first before coming to consoles. I won't be surprised. In fact, I would say bet on it. XCOM 3 will come to PC first, then come to console.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's real-time strategy games are really, or those types of games are really hard to port to console in a meaningful way, and sometimes getting the control schemes properly laid out can be a challenge, and that's why Gears Tactics is coming to PC in April, and that's why it will be a launch title in Series X. But we'll talk about that when we start talking about launch lineups later. But first, Sony made an announcement earlier this week. They announced that they were going to be starting a $10 million fund to help indie game developers impacted by COVID-19. No doubt everyone who's watching or listening has been affected by COVID-19 in some way, whether you're stuck at home more, working from home, or anything else. It's changed how you go about your day-to-day lives. So, and that's no different for the video game industry. And Sony decided to help indie developers, which obviously are going to be struggling more because their overhead is a lot less and they're not seeing as much cash. And this is going to help developers that have seen negative impacts from the pandemic crisis. So they didn't share a lot of details about around the fund, about how it was going to be used, etc., etc. They said the more details will be available soon. So I'm guessing once the money gets into the hands of the indie developers, they're going to bring a couple indie developers on to kind of talk about it and how it helps. And it's also interesting to note that PlayStation gave away 2 games that you can collect free digital downloads for as part of their Play at Home initiative, which is the Uncharted, the Nathan Drake collection, and Journey, which are free to download and play, and you own them for I believe, and people will correct me if I'm wrong, if you download them between April 15th and May 5th, you own those games forever. No PlayStation Plus account required. So,
Correct.
So, what do you guys think? This is very similar. I saw a story from Windows Central about the coalition donating Xbox Ones to hospitals and everything else. So, I know it's a pretty general topic, but I felt like it'd be a disservice not to talk about it. What do you guys think about this? Is this good?
Yes, I definitely think it's a good thing, just because, like you said, these indie developers don't have a lot of cash to sit on and be able to support themselves on if they don't have a means to
I have to apologize to her.
Properly get an income from their product. Like, it's nice to see a publisher look at not just their own studio portfolio and their own studios, and look at the other smaller people who also need the help and be like, okay, we see you too. You're not forgotten. You're not ignored. You're also important to this industry. So let us help you survive and get through this tough time. And it's really nice to see a large publisher like that provide that, not even just an option, but just that availability to indie developers in general. I think it's wonderful to see.
Yeah, and Sony's been insanely proactive with their COVID-19, whether it was working from home, they started doing that very quickly, and everything else. There just seems to be a general care there. And supporting indie developers is important, because the thing is during this time, it's like small businesses within the economy. Like, big businesses are going to be okay because they're sitting on enough cash they can chew the losses for a bit. But if you're working project to project, Kickstarter to Kickstarter, this pandemic is really rough on you financially. Sam, any tidbits or thoughts to throw in?
Not really. It's good. Thank you, Sony, for doing it. It's appreciated, I'm sure, by those devs. Thank you for doing it. But not really anything else to say other than that.
Yeah, like it's one of those things that, like, there's sometimes in this podcast I bring up topics. It's not necessarily I'm expecting someone to disagree. Like, I knew no one on this panel was gonna be like, well, screw Sony and their money. But there's just some things like feel good news, because I'm not a big news conglomerate, so I feel like pointing out good news is good things. And
absolutely, even if there's not much to say about it, it's worth bringing up, no question.
Yeah, and indie developers, they're struggling right now, and indie games have been a huge part of this generation, honestly. We've seen so many great games come from indie developers, from Celeste, Cuphead, and many, many, many more. great indie games have been developed by these indie studios, so it'd be a shame to lose these creatives due to limitations of COVID-19. So we got a little bit of PS5 stuff to talk about as well. So there was a Bloomberg report, which Bloomberg's pretty good about the information they have. According to a new report from Bloomberg, Sony will not be making as many PlayStation 5 consoles for launch as it did for the PlayStation 4's launch back in 2013, despite no delay to production or on sale date being expected. Bloomberg sources are anticipating shipments to max out at 6 million consoles through to March of 2021, whereas PS4 sold 7.5 million over the same post-launch time period, despite itself suffering a delay. Bloomberg goes on to report that this is nothing to do with COVID-19 and is more in line to do with doesn't appear to be the case. Instead, it seems that Sony is simply anticipating less demand, which, understandably, we've talked about this ad nauseum on this show about people are going to have less money because of everything going on in the world, so people might not be rushing out to buy a new console day one. One analyst is putting the launch price at $450, £360 in the UK, and compared to the PS4's $399 price tag. And the prices are bouncing back and forth, and likely I still feel correct in saying that PlayStation 5 will be $499, but that's a different topic. I want to ask you guys, when I first saw these articles floating around and people were like, PlayStation 5s would be in limited supplies, I was thinking like 1 million, 2 million consoles, not 5 million. I was expecting like astronomically lower numbers. But with this being said, in the world of bot scalpers, what do you guys think this is going to mean for demand for the PlayStation 5? Because as we all know from buying stuff online and everything else, bots have become a huge issue and scalpers are at large in an even larger way than they've ever been before. And this is going to be even worse is if we're still under technical lockdowns and restrictions. You're not necessarily going to be able to go into a store and pre-order it. You're going to rely on the online ecosystem to pre-order your console. So what do you guys think about the 5 million PS5s that are going to be available between the launch date and March 2021?
You go ahead, Sam. If you probably are a little bit more.
Here's what I'll say. I'll say this. I don't think it's getting delayed. It's very unlikely for the PS5 to get delayed at this point. That's just it's not going to happen. I've said it won't happen before. I'm going to keep short of some horrible disaster that I hope doesn't happen. It's not going to happen. So there's that. And then the other fact of the matter is, even before the COVID situation, if this console is $500 instead of the PS4's $400, then yeah, it makes sense. You're going to have less demand. But at the same time, I can't help but wonder if that by itself is going to drive up more demand. I don't know. It's an interesting thought experiment. Because Bloomberg's journalism is very good, I have no reason to doubt them. So I'm taking what they say as fact. To be clear here, I'm just taking them at surface level truth, surface level value, because there's no reason not to. So if there's 6 million PS5s instead of 7.5 million PS4s, I don't know. Maybe if you're really interested in having a PS5, you'll want to pre-order it. But other than that, I don't think that's, I don't think it's a big deal per se. I will say, get the idea of a $400 PS5 out of your head. I've seen a lot of people thinking, even now, that realistically could be pushed. I'm telling you right now, no. It won't happen. Push that out of your head. It'll be 500.
Yeah, I'm not a tech guy. I will never pretend to be a tech guy. I am the least tech knowledgeable person on this show, besides maybe Eric. No offense to Eric. But with that custom SSD in the PlayStation 5 alone, there is no way it's a $399 console unless Sony wants to do what they did with the PS3 and chew money. And there is no way in 2020 is a developer or a hardware company going to chew money on the hardware? Because the whole principal idea of every time you sell a console, you lose $60 is a terrible business idea. And I just don't see it happening. But I agree with Sam. I don't think this console is going to get delayed. I think, and I speak for PlayStation 5 and Series X as well. I don't think these consoles are going to get delayed. I just think they might be a little bit harder to get your hands on. And this once again goes into the fact of pre-order it if you want it. There's tons of places you can pre-order consoles from: Best Buy, Amazon, etc., etc. I'm not ordering from GameStop this time because I really don't know if they're going to be around by the time these consoles launch. So they're not getting my money. But yeah, just pre-order it if you want it. And I stress this enough. I can't stress this enough. Is like, I understand everyone's day one hype for a console. I get it. But I've never, in the whole time I've been gaming, bought a console on launch day except for the PlayStation 3, which I regret. Great console, not at the price I paid for it, though. But yeah, if you have to wait for it, you have to wait for it. There's going to be great games, but there's not going to be anything major you're going to miss if you can't get your hands on this console. Right off the bat. And with everything going on in the world, I really think, and it's so hard for me to say this because I love video games and everything else, but I really think if you can get a PlayStation 5 at launch is the biggest of your concerns, I think you need to reevaluate your concern meter. Because I've completely forgotten about worrying about buying a next generation console with everything going on right now. I'm more concerned about keeping my job, keeping my kids fed, and everything else. It just seems really weird that people are freaking out about this. And like, I get it makes great news titles. Like, the title of the article I read off was, let me read it here. PS5 may be difficult to buy at launch due to limited supply. And obviously 1.5 million 2.5 million consoles difference is a big deal and reportable, but I definitely think it was over sensationalized.
Yes.
For click value.
Yeah, no, I agree with that one. Like, 5 to 6 million, that's not a small number. And even though PlayStation has such a stance worldwide as well and such a large following, it's not like they're going to sell 5 to 6 million consoles in a couple weeks. So I don't think we're going to see a situation where it was like the Nintendo Switch when that released, where they're like, yeah, we got a new console coming out, and then they thought they had enough, but then they actually didn't, and the demand was absolutely unprecedented, and they couldn't keep up with it. But that was a bit of a unique situation itself, because the Wii U was kind of just trash, so they were all really excited for the Switch when it came out.
I agree with you. I definitely think with the Nintendo Switch, it was a situation of Nintendo was like, we don't want a Wii U situation where we've got millions of these things taking up warehouse space in case this doesn't kick off. But people were quite willing to forget the Wii U existed and just hop right on board with the Switch.
It was just like so bad. They're like, yeah, no, we don't want to remember. Bring us forward. Take us to the future, Nintendo. I think.
Go ahead, George, sorry.
I was just gonna say, people are not gonna have to worry. Like, I understand there's large following even worldwide, but it's not going to sell. And even then, they said constrained until March? Basically, the end of their first fiscal quarter for 2021, which is basically March 2021, or that basically fiscal quarter. So you got a good period of time. You're okay.
Yeah.
If 5 to 6 million can last 3 months, you're okay.
And to Glorious Wars question in the chat, will the Xbox Series X and Lockhart also be limited? Here's the thing is, I personally, I would say yes, but the thing is I don't have any information to back that up. The only reason I can say, like, with PlayStation, the only reason I feel comfortable in saying it's limited is that because we've got multiple Bloomberg reports stating that Sony was having issues pre-COVID purchasing parts for it because they're competing with Samsung, Apple, and a few others for parts. So that's why these supply issues, I put supply issues in the biggest quotations because I think people are blowing it out a little bit more. The thing is we've not heard anything in regards to whether Xbox is having supply issues with Series X parts or Series S parts or anything like that. So I feel it would be like hyperbole for me to say they are going to be limited, but I will say that I do think there's a good chance that Series X and Xbox Series S could potentially be limited because at the end of the day, all these parts and manufacturing pieces are coming out of Asia, and Asia is still in a, I'm not going to say as dire of a situation, but still in a struggle of a situation as it sits right now. So I hope that answers your question without too much hyperbole thrown in.
Now, I will throw a counter argument to that one and kind of mull with the idea of where I actually think Series X, they definitely won't have supply constraints at all. Just for the simple fact, at least in my mind, where we know how confident Xbox and especially Phil Spencer has been recently in about with Series X and how Xbox has been whatnot. But these guys also have had Series X, I don't know if they're actual dev kits or actual take-home models or whatnot, but probably dev kits. But they have them playing in their homes and whatnot, and they seem to really have been finalized on the form factor, what's actually going to be going in the system. They've seem to be just set in stone exactly what it's going to do. So it almost seems like they could have been, if they really wanted to, in production for maybe a month or so, not really, maybe recently, but they could have started it early in December or something like that to finalize the product and then maybe get a head start on the spring. But because of COVID-19, it did not help at all when it really impacted Wuhan in December and especially in January. But when he was talking on Game Take Radio, he was saying factories are just starting to come back online, production has just started to ramp back up and sort of thing. And I'm just thinking, maybe they might be a little bit better positioned supply-wise than PlayStation. But again, it really all depends on the demand, if that really matters or not.
Yeah, and the thing is, too, is like a lot of the tech-related stuff, and please correct me if I'm wrong, comes from Foxconn. And the thing is like PlayStation 5 is using common components that other companies are vying for right now for their 2021 products. So that's coming into factor with the supply issue because PlayStation's supply issue actually has nothing to do with COVID-19. It has relation to do the parts that they're using. So depending on the part set that the Series X and S use could dictate if who they're fighting for parts with, if they're fighting for parts, etc., etc. Unfortunately, we don't seem to get any Bloomberg reports on that aspect, because Xbox has had a 360 from the Xbox One era of us getting inside information. You basically don't get anything anymore that they don't want you to know about anyway.
Yeah, that's true. And in the Bloomberg article, if I remember saying like PS5 production was going to start up in June, I think it was, they were saying, or somewhere around that time frame. I don't. If you make 5 to 6 million counts between then and the end of the year, that's not bad. I think you'll be okay. That's just me.
Yeah, no, I think everything will be all right. Like, honestly, like, I don't know. I'm just not freaking out about it.
Yeah, because there's just really no concern.
Because it is what it is. Next generation's going to be exciting, and I'm not willing to sit there and be like, yeah, people should definitely get back in those factories and kill themselves so I can get a PS5. I'm just not of that mindset. It's just not who I am as a person. So, as everyone knows, I am more of a software guy than a hardware guy. And a lot of podcasts, shows, and I'll leave it at that. A lot of podcasts and shows cover hardware. That's all they talk about. I've not seen anyone talk about the most important aspect of a console launch.
Oh.
The games. What games are we going to see launch with PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X? But I want to preface this first, because as we always do in this show, because all of us have a very different depth of knowledge and wealth of information at our disposal, and we like to make a little banter back and forth. So I kind of want to get into a clippable segment here where we predict the prices of Xbox Series X and PlayStation 5 just to, see who's on base and who we can make fun of and,
All right,
see where it lands. So
I'm up for this.
So I'm going to let Jared go first and then Sam can go. And then I will go last. So, Jared, Xbox Series X and PlayStation 5 price, where do you think they will land?
Okay. So, they're both going to end up at $500 US. Absolutely. I think in my mind it really it's more so not so much the price. Like, they've been making an okay profit off of consoles. It's not the greatest. A lot of the revenue that they make comes off the software and whatnot. But I definitely think we could be $500 both for sure. Yeah, like the previous generations, all the consoles have launched at around the $500 price point. PS3, that one model came in at $600. That was an extremely bad move. That was a lot of backlash, and I think the whole game industry looked at that and was like, "Yeah, no, that's not going to happen." So that really, I think, turned off all the Microsoft and PlayStation from making a console that's worth $600, even though the price of parts increases. The more tech that they put into it, the more advanced it gets, the more costly it's going to get. But I really think it might be disastrous if it goes any higher than that, just because people are so used to it being at a $500 for a console in the first place overall, no matter what it is. Now, it's almost kind of... I have to put it this way. No matter what, $500, $600, $450 for any console, really happy that you're getting a console this advanced that is this capable for this type of price point in the first place. But PS5, $500 US. Series X, $500 US.
Yep. All right, Sam, floor is yours, sir.
500.
This man straight up is just gonna say 500. Everything. Yeah. Okay. Okay, Sam.
There's really not much else, though, right? Like, it just makes the most sense of it being at a $500 point.
Let me say this. I'm usually the one that has the edgy take, and I can't put an edgy take because I think they're both $4.99. People that have the edgy takes are the people that think they're going to get a PS5 for $3.99. Those are the edgy people right now.
I will say this, though. You're more than likely to get a PS5 Pro mid-gen refresh as well. I'm just going to throw that out there.
You will never hear the end of me if we get mid-gen refreshes after dropping $500 on the console.
I bet you we are. I have a very strong that they're gonna do it again.
No. If they do that, I'm gonna be so mad. It doesn't matter who does it. I don't even care if it's Xbox, PlayStation, nobody. No more. If you're gonna charge me more for the console and everything else, no way in hell. There's no way the PS5's under $450. And I still think it's gonna be $499. And Xbox Series S is going to hit at $299. So it's going to be $200 less than both. and that's it. That's the way it is. People they're still tweeting at me 24/7 that PlayStation 5 is going to be $399 and Series X is going to be $599.
No.
Need to lay off the pipe a little.
Let's put something else out there to make this a little more interesting, since we're all in pretty much agreement about this. If Series S exists, how much will it be? AKA Lockhart.
$300 US.
300? Okay, you think 300, Nick? What about you?
I'm gonna go with a little bit of a spicier take because I know a certain party who rhymes with sore just dropped a video saying Xbox Series S for $299. I still think with some of the tech they're packing in, I still think it's gonna be $349 US. I think it would be mind-blowing to me if Xbox somehow undercut the X with the Series S by $200, but still packed an SSD into it. Like, that seems like it. $349 seems like a realistic price in my head. So for Series S, I'm gonna say $349.
That's very believable. Definitely, honestly. It really is, especially like you said. Like if they kept like even the Xbox One X and then the Series S and Series X, and then you'd be like, okay, there's the One X for $300, and then Series S for $50 more. So you're more enticed to go for maybe the $50 more one.
Well, and that's kind of like the basis of my whole idea that the Series S will be $349 because they're selling the X right now for $299. So
yeah,
like it would be. A punch in the gut. Well, I'm not going to say a punch in the gut. That makes it sound bad. I'd be very pleasantly surprised if the Series S hit for $299. I'd be very impressed. And I'd really want to know what the form factor and how they got it that cheap. That would be a huge moment to me. What about you, Sam?
300. But I will say, however, I want to be clear. I am less certain of that than I am for the 500 on the other two consoles. Like, I think it's like a 55% chance of 300, 45% chance of 50.
Yeah.
I want to be clear.
Yeah, that's definitely reasonable. Yeah.
I think so. All of us. So basically, $500 for X and PS5. And $350 for me for Series S, and then $299 for Series S for Jared and Sam. We will see who will come out triumphant.
Sí, señors.
We will see. We will see what happens.
Also, Micah, what the hell? That's all I got. I'm not reading that in chat because we'll probably get pulled off Spotify. But. So one of the best things about next generation hardware is the games, which no one wants to talk about because all they care about is freaking silicone. And there's only one place. There's only one place I like silicone.
Oh my lord! Oh my lord!
Don't finish that thought, Nick. Don't finish that thought.
What is Angelica doing to you?
We're not don't answer that
either.
All right, we're skating past this question,
on.
And
Moving
also
on.
I feel bad too. So in translation, for people that are Canadian that want to know where our prediction prices are, it'll be 2 mooses and a gallon of maple syrup for an Xbox Series X and a PS5.
Oh, you mean I don't have to? You mean I don't have to include a canoe this time?
Yeah, no canoe this time, buddy.
That's a big deal, guys. You have no idea. Just saying.
You heard it here first. 2 mooses and a gallon of maple syrup.
I can actually go out in the summertime and properly forage for. I'm excited.
Sam's just sitting here going, "What in the Canadian hell did I just?"
He's shaking his head.
Where's Florida Man to balance out the podcast?
We miss you, Eric. We miss you.
Yeah, I miss Eric right now. And this discussion topic was actually inspired by Eric. because me and him were in a yelling match in the DMs going, why isn't anyone talking about games? So it's April. Next generation games are going to start coming out. Like we all know, like Assassin's Creed Vikings it's getting announced sometime soon. The achievement list leaked. Like we already know it's a 4-player co-op, which is cool.
Oh yeah, it is.
But so I want to focus more on first party and second party for both consoles, because we know that there's going to be a pile of third party games that are going to be piling onto this console launch. Like Ubisoft always has at least 1 or 2 games for launch time. Like I would not be surprised if Assassin's Creed hit and then Watch Dogs Legion drops sometime a little bit after that.
Oh yeah.
Which I'm incredibly hyped for. But I want to focus more on first and second party games, because they are the most interesting aspects of what a first party lineup should look like. So we're going to start with the PlayStation 5, because if I'm being brutally honest, it's the one we know the least about. Sony has been insanely tight-lipped about what first party games are going to be there, if any, or what the situation. The whole situation's up in the air right now, because we don't even know when The Last of Us Part 2 is coming out at this point. So, what do you guys think the launch lineup for PlayStation 5 is going to look like?
Oh.
Jared, I want you and Nick to go first on this one, if you will.
Okay. I'll go first. Let's see here. Horizon Zero Dawn 2, I think, definite one. That would be a brilliant game to have as a launch title. Let's see here. Knack 3, that's going to come out. We all know that's going to happen at some point. Next Knack game. Random one. I actually would really like to see this, and I actually kind of think it'd be a really smart idea if they brought Twisted Metal back as well as a new launch title. Not saying that's actually going to happen. That's more just a figment of my imagination, kind of hope and dream. But Horizon Zero Dawn 2, another Knack game. I honestly think The Last of Us Part 2 is going to be pushed back and be part of the launch lineup, and that'll be it.
All right, that's spicy.
Hot. I had to put my tinfoil hat on, okay?
There's nothing wrong with that, because mine is full of things that I really like what I really want, because I'm greedy.
I'm actually gonna make one day and put it on when we get into this conversation, so I can really be in the zone.
Now, the day I will officially wear a tinfoil hat on the podcast when I start doing predictions for the official Baldur's Gate 3 launch date. And how I think it ties into other games within the franchise. But that's enough of that. So I think we're going to get from Guerrilla Games, but I don't think we're going to get Horizon Zero Dawn 2.
Mm-hmm.
I think, and Sam is laughing at me in his head when I'm going to say this, but I think we're going to get SOCOM rebooted by Guerrilla Games. Because Guerrilla Games, back about just after the launch of Horizon Zero Dawn, hired a bunch of people for a multiplayer-focused title. And I really believe that they're making an FPS game. You will either see Killzone or a SOCOM game from Guerrilla Games. More likely Killzone. But I really think that SOCOM or Killzone, something from Guerrilla Games, will be there at launch. I think Horizon Zero Dawn 2 is more of a 2021, 2022, or at least I hope it would. For the simple reasons, for Horizon Zero Dawn, it was the game that really made me pay attention to PlayStation 4, and I think they need to unlock more of the hardware to fully make that sequel what it could be. I don't think a launch game is what it needs to be. I think they need to play around with the hardware and experiment with it a bit to get a little bit more familiar with it, to really bust that sequel out. We're going to see Demon's Souls remake from Blue Point, which is not what I want it to be, but it is what it is. So Demon's Souls, either a Killzone or a SOCOM game. We're going to see a Ratchet & Clank game from Insomniac, and The Last of Us will somehow work its way in. I don't think it's going to be there. I think The Last of Us Part 2 is going to launch before the launch of the PlayStation 5, but I feel like they're going to use that to showcase what the PlayStation 5 can do, because they're going to put the game in people's hands on PS4 and then be like, this is why it's better on PlayStation 5. And that's about it. I don't think the lineup is going to be massive, but I think it's going to have enough fan favorites to kind of make hardcore fans really happy. And now I'll toss over to Sam to tell me why I'm wrong.
Not exactly. I will say that much like you, I think Horizon Zero Dawn isn't coming this year. Or Horizon Zero Dawn 2, rather. I think that's a 2021 game, probably March to May. March to May would make sense for the most part. Maybe a little later if they've been impacted by work from home. I'm not sure. I can't predict, so I'm just going to put that out there. I think we obviously know Godfall will be there. And then Blue Point's game, the Demon Souls remake, that's definitely going to be there.
Ooh.
I think we will see Housemarque's game. Housemarque has been working on a game for some time, and they haven't announced it. They haven't announced who it is. They haven't announced who they've partnered with. I think that much like Resogun for the PS4, they've partnered with Sony to make some sort of arcade launch game for the PS5. So I think Housemarque's title makes sense. And then some other sort of collaboration, like Japan Studio working with another team to make platform or some other different kind of game. I don't know. It's been a while since we heard something out of Japan Studio, and they collaborate with other devs, so I think something along those lines would make sense.
Oh, I want to add one more to mine. One more.
Give her, buddy.
The Order 1887.
Yeah,
I wish. I wish.
You're speaking. You're speaking to my wet dreams.
I wish that was the case. I just can't but let myself hope.
Yeah,
That's the issue. Like, I want you to be right. I want that to happen. I just don't think it ever will.
It would be a nice surprise for sure.
I would love to be wrong. I would love to be wrong.
Like, I'll be honest, my surprise was even seeing Hellblade 2 get that much limelight that early on. So it could happen. My dream came true. It can for you.
Well, or I could believe every 4chan leaker and run with the fact that Silent Hill's coming out in 2020 somehow.
Glorious, look what you did.
Well, no. Okay, no. To the point, I don't think Glorious is wrong. I do believe a Silent Hill reboot is coming.
I hope so.
Anyone that thinks it's coming in 2020 is smoking that good stuff.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because that whole rumor because the first rumor we saw, which I believe had credibility because I remember seeing Dusk Golem talk about it, and he is a very reliable insider when it comes to horror games. He talked about that there was conversations happening between Sony and Konami about working together to make a Silent Hill game. I'm not going to say no for a fact, but know on good terms that those conversations have been happening. But that rumor of the game being 18 months to almost 2 years in development is a fanboy wet dream fabricated by a 4chan user.
Yeah. The game is happening, or at the very least is being discussed. Like that, I think a Silent Hills game will actually happen, which will be amazing. But don't hope for it this year.
Yeah. And I think that's the most important part. And I really cannot stress people enough. Stop screenshotting 4chan leaks and calling them official information. Okay?
Thank you.
Like, everyone's bored on quarantine. Like, I was actually going to make a video just to show how easy it was to start a 4chan rumor. Because it's literally create an account anonymously and post nonsense. And someone will run with it. Like, this is even down to, like, Xbox stuff, PlayStation stuff. Just stop. Just stop in general.
Once or twice a month right now.
Like, there's credible insiders that drop good information. Like, the amount of people that don't know who Dusk Golem is, but run with 4chan rumors is the most insane part to me. Because this guy's given legitimately good information, has been correct 98% of the time. But there's certain people who just drop random nonsense and people will run with it even though that person has a terrible track record.
He's a developer too, isn't he?
Dusk Golem? I'm not sure, honestly. No, he's just
He's a tester.
Yeah.
Tester. I gotcha.
But the thing is take everything at face value, is what I'm saying. And the biggest thing that I know a lot of the people that create these rumors are trying to generate hype for a brand they really love. But at the end of the day, you're only doing damage to the brand you enjoy by creating nonsense that they can't live up to. It was like the whole remake engine on PlayStation that a certain someone was talking about how PS1, PS2, PS3, and every PlayStation game was going to be playable on PlayStation 5. That set an unhealthy expectation for people, so when Mark Cerny came out and talked about boost mode and what it was going to mean for PlayStation 4 games on PS5 games, people lost the hype for that announcement because they're like, well, where's the PS3 games, Mark? And he never promised that. And, like, if that does come to fruition, if PS3 games do come to PS5, that's great. But setting unhealthy fan expectations is terrible. Like, I remember watching back in 2016, 2017, Xbox fans on Reddit did it to themselves 24/7 of saying, oh, this is going to happen. This has to happen. And it would not come to fruition. And then people would get mad about it. But at the end of the day, anyone can create a Reddit account. Anyone can create a 4chan account and bleed out nonsense. Wait for factual information or don't report it as fact. And watch where you're getting your information from. Believe it or not, YouTubers are not reliable sources. They can lie. You can put a USB microphone into your computer and lie. It's such a weird concept. What?
I have the same gripe. Honestly, it bugs the shit out of me when a lot of these people go to these YouTubers and watch these YouTube channels and whatnot, and what they say and their interpretation, but they're not willing to either go directly to the source that they're talking about or they have in their channel, or they're just spewing out lies and they're going to just take it as face value and they're not willing to do the research. And that bugs the hell out of me, because if you're a YouTuber and you have such a large audience and your job or what you want to do is provide information about gaming and technology and whatever else for your channel, do it right. Don't spread information. Tell the truth. Tell what you know. If you don't know what you're talking about, say, hey, this is what I think. I'm not sure. This isn't confirmed. Be speculative. And it drives me nuts when YouTubers don't do that.
And that's one of the reasons why Sam's on this show, because one of the things I always admire about Sam through all the shows I've done with him is Sam will say, this is what people are saying, but I don't believe there's enough information out there for me to say this is an actual fact. Mm-hmm. And that is really important because, let's face it, next generation speculation is fun. It's fun to speculate about what these launch lineups are. I don't want anyone taking what I just said about what the launch games for PS5 are going to be and running with that as fact, because it's not. It's me speculating.
Yes.
I don't have inside information at PlayStation. I wish I did. But let me tell you, if I did, I wouldn't tell you.
There's things that go on behind the scenes think they can just be willingly privy to, and it's just not how it works.
And I really think, like, we'll use, to wrap up, basically, we'll look at Silent Hill as an example. The reason why I believe there's a Silent Hills game coming is because there was enough heat coming around that rumor about them talking with Sony for Konami to actually say something. Konami never says anything. They let those Metal Gear Solid remakes by Blue Point rumors run for like 4 months and said nothing. But a rumor about them having a conversation with Sony about Silent Hills, and all of a sudden Konami comes out and goes, no, that's not true. We're not currently working on Silent Hills.
Uh-huh, sure.
I'm like, okay. So where there's smoke, there's fire. And there's nothing wrong with conjecture as long as you preface it as conjecture. And you will understand things more if you just read the whole article instead of the headline.
Hey!
As
Sure?
something I'm sure Sam can attest to, being on a site as large as Android Central and Windows Central, how many people just read the headline, Sam?
Irritating amount. You don't understand the only so many characters and you're trying to get across the but contained like it can't. It's just it is what it is.
Yep. But like I said, next generation's exciting. We have tons of things to be excited for. There's so much interesting gaming news that's going to be coming in the next weeks and months. I don't know why people want to fabricate stuff to make it even better. Like, it's going to be amazing. We're all drowning in backlogs right now, and people are making up stuff. Like, stop it. Okay? Like, yes, you ran a failure of a website that you got kicked out of, and now you're a developer. Calm down. Okay? You don't need to keep fabricating stuff as you go. It is what it is. So, we will do outros now. I appreciate everyone that stopped by the chat. You guys were fantastic. I appreciate your thoughts, and I hope we answered all your questions. If you guys have any questions you want us to answer, throw them in the chat now while we're doing outros, and we will answer them before we go. Sam, where can people find you?
You can find me on Twitter at Samuel Tolbert. That's Tolbert, and you can find everything I write on Windows Central, Android Central, and iMore.
Yeah, and I want you to know Sam's Resident Evil 3 review ruined it for me. I don't know how, but it ruined it for me. And if you want to find out why it ruined it for me, we talk about it on episode 11, which features Benji's Sales, which is now available on on Spotify. So you can watch all our previous episodes on Spotify because we are now officially on Spotify. We're not endorsed by Spotify. That's important to clarify. But we are on Spotify. And soon to be on Apple Podcasts as well. Jared, where can people find you?
Well, you can find me on Twitter at X, so, as well at all my writing and fun stuff over at lordsgaming.net. I will also have a YouTube channel coming out sometime soon called The Neon Garden, so pay attention to my Twitter timeline on all the information related to that.
Awesome. And I'm Nicholas Downey. I'm a part of the lordsofgaming.net as well. You can find all my written work there. I put out a piece about dealing with the quarantine and video games and escapism today. So if you checked that out and enjoyed it, I appreciate you. I appreciate all the unsupportive emails and DMs I've gotten about my Gearbox article. I love all of you, and including the people that hate me because you guys fuel me. So we have no more questions from the chat. I appreciate everyone that tunes into this show every week, has come out consistently on spends their Saturday nights with us. We appreciate you, and we look forward to continuing to give you guys informative and fun gaming content each and every Saturday night at 8 p.m.-ish Eastern Standard Time. So everyone stay safe, spend time with your families, and we will see you guys next week. And we will have a special guest with us as well, which will be announced later this week. Thank you guys so much. Appreciate it and love you all. Bye.